brought to you by Box Media TV. We've had some big fights announced recently. In the new year, we will see Degale against Jack, unification, finally. The young Gervonta Davis, up-and-coming star, against Pedraza. Also this weekend, we've seen the first step in female professional boxing. Are we going to have a major star? Big fights in the future. We've also seen, of course, Kovalev Ward. And Fighting Ed. In the opposite corner, we have Adrian, the hashtag Greenland. Terry, Dirt Dog Chapendama. Joined by, as per usual, Junior, the Rose Johnson. Gentlemen, let's get down to business. Ward, Kovalev, Terry, thoughts?
Close fight. I always like fights that leave a controversial decision because it shows the guys were equally matched. So, as boxing fans, these are the fights we really want to see. And the ease that this fight was made should make Amir Khan and Kell Brooks sleep uneasy at night. I genuinely think if you take the knockdown away from this fight, I think Ward was kind of comfortable. It took a few rounds to figure out what Kovalev was doing, but once he did, he was able to just recode the blueprint. And
so comfortable doing what? Comfortable doing what? Because he wasn't throwing punches.
Well, he was, and I think this is, and here's the issue. There was a lot of stuff that was happening on the inside, and if we take the Bernard Hopkins school, anytime your fist makes contact with your opponent, it has an effect. And Ward was making contact regularly enough. I think the punch stats would bear that out as well.
Sorry. Let's the punch stats had Kovalev throwing more and having a higher percentage. I think it was 26%, which is a couple percent higher than Ward's, according to my statistics. But just to go back on something you said there, Terry. Any time your fist hits, it scores. There was a lot of stuff happening on the inside.
Wait, hold on. My exact words were no. My exact words were every time you hit your opponent with your fist, it has an effect. So it looks scrappy, it looks messy, but it takes it out of Kovalev. He made Kovalev work, all the holding Kovalev had to do. All of this stuff is draining because Ward's a strong guy, so Kovalev had to work extra hard, and he's not used to that. So I thought seemingly the Virgil Hunter tactic of draining the tank was sensible. And I thought in a situation where Kovalev wasn't going to let Ward box how he wanted to, I thought Ward toughed it out pretty well and showed a champion's heart and a champion's intellect in the ring.
So, but what's the end result? Surely, you go to the body, you drain the tank for the purposes of softening up your opponent, tiring them to throw and connect with some clean punches. Isn't the point is not to wear them out, so you can wear them out. And the end of the fight, they're worn out because you wrestled loads. So I win. I mean, isn't that American college wrestling rather than boxing?
No, it's actually boxing, and I guess it depends on how steeped in the old school you are. My question immediately is, why isn't Kovalev fighting on the inside? Why is he looking to subdue and nullify? My genuine belief is this: all great boxers can box on the inside. So that immediately let me know that Kovalev had limitations. And Ward said, well, if you don't like it on the inside, this is exactly where I'm going to stay. So congratulations to Ward for being smart enough to do that. And as for Kovalev, if he wants to rematch, he's going to have to learn to work on the inside.
And did you question why Ward didn't work on the outside?
Because he doesn't have the reach.
Interesting, Terry. The rope.
Yeah, I'd like
Junior,
to chime in on that
Johnson.
debate there. In the early rounds, I noticed that Ward, firstly, he got hit with a jab and he was stunned. He was like, wow, this guy is powerful. He was shocked by the power. And he just couldn't get near Kovalev in the first few rounds. He was struggling to get the range. He really was. And then he got stunned with that overhand right, which was really
stunned or knocked down onto his buttocks.
Stunned and knocked down onto his buttocks, both. It was
well, onto his knee. Let's be clear. He landed on his knee.
Either way, he was down and stunned.
Junior, please continue.
But I noticed that Ward could not get anywhere near Kovalev. He couldn't get on the inside, and every time he would get on the inside, Kovalev would lock him up into a headlock The referee, I was really unimpressed with. I thought he should have separated them a lot earlier and a lot more frequent.
But did you think the holding? But did you notice Ward was kind of from what I observed in terms of the holding, he would put his guard up high, weave his way into the inside, and kind of charge forward. So what option did Kovalev have? Sorry.
Well, if you know, one thing I noticed with the holding as well is that Kovalev was a lot stronger than Ward. Every time they got in a clinch, every single time, you can watch it back, he pushed him all the way back onto the top of the ropes and leaned on him, put his body weight on him and tried to tire him out with that as well. That was something I noticed. It was either a headlock. He did not want to fight Ward on the inside, as Terry mentioned. It was either a headlock or he just pushed him back. And one thing as well, I know Kovalev might not have the inside game that Ward has, but he does know how to grapple as well. You know, he's a student of Sambo apparently as well. So,
so let's just clear it up. Was it illegal holding, Junior, or was it above board?
It wasn't illegal holding, but I just think it was just too much. I think the referee should have.
Sorry. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. So this is, guys, I'm confused. Right? Ward Kovalev, and we're questioning whether Kovalev's holding was legal.
Ward's holding,
rather than Andre Ward.
More Ward. I'd say. Would you say Ward's holding was illegal?
Wait. No. So I don't have the rule book in front of me, but if we study what Ward will do, Ward will keep one arm free and pin the other arm even on his opponent. So there's always an arm free to work. If you look at what Kovalev does, he shuts down both arms. So you can't actually work on the inside. You know, like normally you hear the ref call manos libres or you got hands free work.
Yeah,
Kovalev just shut that down because he didn't want the risk of being worked on the inside.
So I agree with one aspect of that point in that Ward has a hand free to work, and normally he was using it to punch Kovalev in his nether regions, which the referee didn't notice, just for the record. But what I observed was that, and this is Ward's inside game, is about they both clinched. Ward locks down both arms. What he does do, Terry, is that your heavy breathing? Yeah, another Ward fan, just like Malinaji. Anyway, Ward locks down both arms. What he does do is release the clinch quickly, and he works off the release of the clinch. That's what he was doing. It's not that he clinches, but he fights inside and all the way through. He clinches, he spoils. Some of it is probably borderline legal, but he was smarter, or he's more equipped for the close range fighting than Kovalev because he's able to box out of the clinch quicker and more precisely. To me, that was the key. And there's two reasons for that. One is he's probably, he's a very skilled and rugged inside fighter. Number two is he has short arms, right? Shorter arms than Kovalev. So he's able to throw very short hooks and snappy, some slightly to the inside of the glove or some well turned in, but very, very short hooks and uppercuts through the angle he makes with his arm, where Kovalev, with the rangy arms he has, it's not possible. So on the inside, more effective. Borderline legal, yes, but fair play to him for trying to take the fight inside. Disappointing that there wasn't maybe the long range, mid range work that we expected from this so-called, the next coming of Mayweather. The hashtag, Adrian, your thoughts?
I think it was a fight for the purists. I think those people who kind of want to.
Sorry, Adrian. You mean the American college wrestling purists or the boxing purists? Just so we're clear.
It's for the boxing purist. It was a chess match, in my opinion. I think the casual may not have appreciated staying up till 4 a.m. if they're from London or sort of this side of town to watch that, and would have thought, what was that? But there was a lot of small work. Like we said, it was a very inside fight, so there was a lot of work on the inside that there's a lot of attention to detail as a sort of boxing. As I said, as a boxing purist, you'd appreciate the small margins. I feel like Ward did enough to win the fight. I feel like after about the fifth round, he got into his flow. On his feet, he was a lot more sort of on his toes, and I felt like he could read Kovalev's attacks a lot easier. And Kovalev kind of looked quite laboured in his work. His jab was poor towards the end of the fight, and I feel like that was a difference in the fight. If we're gonna weigh it up, in my opinion, Kovalev claims that he was robbed, and I think it was a very close fight. To say he was robbed, I'm not too sure about it. My only opinion is, as a champion and as a challenger, if a fight's that close, it usually does swing the way of the champion rather than the challenger. That's probably my only criticism. Do I think Ward 1 just edged it? Yeah, but it could have easily have gone another way. And that's where I feel like the kind of the bad blood in their camp is about. He was robbed because in another scenario, if it was Mayweather, for example, for argument's sake, he wouldn't have had his titles removed in the same way. So,
Terry, your thoughts? Fair decision?
I can live with it. If it had been 140, 130 the other way, I would have been upset, but it's a result we can take. The fight was that close. I know in my preview, I gave probability 55% Ward, 45% Kovalev. It kind of felt that way in the fight. One of the thoughts I did have was, if Kovalev had stayed with Abel Sanchez, I actually think he would have probably ended the fight pretty early. And so he might be questioning his relationship with John David Jackson. I know it wasn't good after the Chilemba fight, and I wasn't impressed with Jackson's corner work in this fight. So I think Kovalev has interesting choices to make about what he does next. If he trusts John David Jackson again to dust off that Hopkins playbook he keeps using, I think Ward will win the rematch comfortably.
Ward did say he's not sure if Kovalev can make adjustments, and that's the question. Maybe Junior, fair decision.
Yeah, I had it 3 or 4 rounds to Ward, but they were close rounds. Like I had that Ward winning rounds by like 1 punch. It was so close. It was so subjective. Do you know what I mean? Like, that anybody could. I wouldn't be surprised if Kovalev had the decision. I'm happy that Ward had it because that's the way I saw it. I wouldn't be surprised. One thing I did notice as well was, like, Ward was he was struggling with the size and the strength of Kovalev, and early in the with the range as well. And he managed to offset that after about the 3rd or 4th round with the jab to the body, which was the key punch of him getting into the range, him finding that range, and him getting on the inside. That's one thing I wanted to mention. That's how that punch is how he changed the fight. He got inside by jabbing to the body, and then jabbing up, and then grabbing.
But also, just for a sense of perspective, Ward fought a man who was probably outweighing him by 10 to 12 pounds on fight night and looked a lot taller, a lot rangier. Floyd got a hard time for avoiding those sorts of guys, the Margaritos, the Paul Williams of this world. So you have to give Ward credit because...
No, I'm sorry, I have to disagree. I
disagree too.
Because, first of all, based on that performance, we should not mention Ward in the same sentence as Mayweather. In terms of defensive abilities, and no matter how tough the opponent is, the ability to punch cleanly and clearly from short, mid and long range, Ward cannot be compared to Mayweather. Secondly, Ward is 6 foot, Kovalev 6'1". Right? He wasn't giving away that much at all.
I'm not buying that. I know what I saw in that ring, and they did not look anywhere near the same size.
It's more a weight issue. He was a lot bigger on the night.
It could have been the stance as well, but Kovalev did look visibly bigger.
He
did look visibly bigger.
And stronger as well.
This fight, I can't give any credit to Ward on the basis of there being a size disadvantage. No one cried for Carl Froch saying that Ward is naturally the bigger man when he lost to Ward. So I won't go with that. Let me guys, as you know, normally I don't share too much of my opinion, but today I'm going to. All right. I think people were swayed by Paulie Malignaggi's commentary. Normally, this guy is precise, but I feel he commentated as a fan of Ward. He sounded like a fan, like he was in admiration, even from the very start. And I think that's swayed his judgment. He was talking about body shots affecting Kovalev. They were slaps to the body. They didn't hurt. They had no impact. All right. I think I've heard Malignaggi say many a time, did this person do enough to be called a champion? Even when he lost to Broner, he said, did this guy do enough to now to claim he's the champion, to take the belt from him? I didn't hear that from him once in this fight because he was commentating as a fan of Ward. In my opinion, Ward did nowhere near enough to claim those belts and to be called a unified champion at the weight. Nowhere near enough. It was not a decisive victory. There was a severely limited number of clean punches landed. The most effective 2 punches of the fight, one was a jab from Kovalev, one was a right cross from Kovalev. Right? Now, don't get me wrong, Ward made it difficult through spoiling, and particularly from round 7, I think round 7 and 8 were decisive for him. I think in particular, as you said, Junior, he led rather than just kind of bumbling his way in there. he actually threw a jab to the body, which didn't have an effect in terms of pain, but had an effect in terms of him managing the range. But I was unimpressed, and I don't think that it was a just decision to have stripped or relieved Kovalev of the belts. Just putting it out there, guys.
Well, I watched the HBO coverage, so I don't know how much of that applies to me.
Fair enough. And you're a respected and valued panel member here, Terry.
No, because Kellerman. So I had Kellerman and Lederman's shocking scorecard, and I think it was Roy Jones. I never know if it's Roy Jones or Antonio Tarver. They seem to be merging into one now. But so I've seen both versions of the broadcast now. So I saw the HBO one at the time, and they would definitely, Ward might lose this, and you didn't know. So it was definitely, the last 2 rounds were key on that broadcast. I think on the Sky one, Malignaggi was like, but did Malignaggi give him like from round 3 till the end? Just gave him all those
pretty much.
I think Bellew gave him 2 rounds. Ward 2 rounds, was it?
It would have been written. It would have been written that this is the pound for pound champ.
But one interesting point. Where does Ward go from here? I think the rematch, he has to take it. But where does he go from here after that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to watch the rematch because I think it was an appalling fight, and Ward came to spoil rather than to fight. But he does have to do it. I mean, you guys tell me the result, I won't be watching.
Rematch, and then I don't imagine he'll fight Stevenson. Don't ask me why. I just have a feeling he won't fight Stevenson, and he'll either bait some of the 168 guys to come up like Degale, or he might just say, I'm moving back down.
Do you think he avoids Beterbiev?
I think
yeah.
Beterbiev kind of needs a Jean Pascal. That kind of that gatekeeper fight where we go, oh, this guy's the truth.
Yeah.
But how long does he have? How long does Ward have? How many more fights do you reckon he has?
Over 3 years, maybe.
Yeah.
I'd say 2. He looked a lot slower and a lot less mobile than I remember.
But he's the higher weight. One last point, and what did you guys think of Junior? What did you think of Ward's foot movement?
Yeah, it looked a lot slower than it usually does. I don't know if it's because he's gone up in weight or if the inactivity is playing a part there or what. But he did look a lot slower. I mean,
Kovalev is very good at managing range.
Yeah, definitely.
So he's actually, that's one thing. He's very skilled at managing range. But I think I was surprised Ward couldn't really come in and out with his feet.
I think he was confused as well. And this is one thing that I think Terry mentioned a few weeks back about Kovalev. Like, I saw 2 different jabs that he was using. He used a really stern, hard, powerful one and a snakish one. I think you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, Terry. And the snakish one was how he controlled the range, and the power one was...
It's the jab where he pumps the right shoulder forward to feint the right hand, and then he throws that left hand almost like it's a backhand shot.
Yeah. So I know it's 2 different, and that's how in the after the 3rd round I didn't think Ward had a chance because it didn't look like he was able to get inside at all or get close to Kovalev. So I was impressed with the way he managed to. It might have been
what Kovalev did well as well was it looked like people commentating were saying he's following rather than cutting the ring, but I think it was deliberate because I think Ward wanted him to try and cut the ring so he could slip under the jab or slip outside it, and Kovalev wasn't giving him that. So Kovalev was following and having limited space to slip outside the jab.
And not just that, when he went on the outside like that, he got the left hook. The Czech left hook came in and it came into play a lot, and that's one of Ward's strongest punches.
Guys, this Box Media Talks. There's been a controversial fight this weekend, but no nonsense. He's serious, technical, strong, good, informative opinions, but there's been some other action as well. And this is something that's not only about this, the action we've had this weekend, but it's a topic that's probably going to grow and increase over the coming years. We've seen the moves that Matchroom have made, and I'm sure Box Nation will do something similar. And that's the rise of, at least in profile, of women's professional boxing. Let's talk about the marquee name right now and her performance. Clarissa Shields. What do you guys think?
So I don't think Clarissa Shields is the marquee name. I think in terms of someone who can move the needle in terms of ticket sales, that'll be Katie Taylor. The woman has a whole country behind her, and Eddie Hearn's not stupid. He knows he has a lackluster card at Wembley. So he says, Northwest London, pretty Irish community around there. Let's get Katie Taylor involved to drive ticket sales. So I imagine that will be absolutely heaving for Katie Taylor's debut. I feel for Clarissa Shields. I think she was thrown into this too soon. She was matched pretty hard because I think Fonja Cruz is an international level boxer. And was her rival. So only moved up to 81 because Shields was at 75. So they were pretty evenly matched. You could see the familiarity between the two and almost a bit of needle between the two because they went hell for leather for 4 2-minute rounds. My take on it is, if we want to take women's boxing seriously, make them do 3-minute rounds. Sorry, they do need to do 3-minute rounds so they have that legitimacy and credibility. And also, it stops them having those sorts of, bar and brawl type events, which might be exciting, but aren't really much in terms of skill. So I thought it was a poor product, but my goodness, I hope Clarissa Shields makes money from her talent because the young woman deserves to do so.
Hashtag Rhodes, did you guys catch the Clarissa Shields fight? Any thoughts?
It's difficult to make an analysis on the whole spectrum, to be honest. I feel like I like what Eddie's doing, Katie Taylor, and with the profile of Matchroom, it will raise the profile for her and women's boxing. But I don't feel like I've seen enough at the top level to really make an assessment. So it's the beginning of a journey, but it's difficult. I don't know how much revenue women's boxing will generate, and they need to be paid well. But it's difficult at this stage.
To chime into that point, I think everybody's noticed what Ronda Rousey's done on the other side, on the other sport, in MMA, and they're thinking, well, there's cash to be made with the women's boxing. I mean, if you look at most
agree.
If you look at
sorry, just on one point, hashtag there. What do you mean they need to be paid well? So who? Why?
The female boxers, the female sport, because at the end of the day.
So if you're a woman and a boxer, you deserve to be paid well.
I feel like all boxers need to be paid well, and
why?
Because it's a dangerous sport. It's a dangerous sport, and there shouldn't be a massive disparity just because it's women's boxing or men's boxing.
No, we're not talking about disparities. We're talking not all, because there's no disparity because a lot of boxers aren't paid well. I mean, it's a dangerous job to go on a building site. Should they all be paid well?
I'm not sure about the numbers. But it's an initial assumption.
Shields made 50K for the fight, which is more than Curtis Stevens, who made 42,500.
Good.
No, it's a fair point. But who is the marquee name in women's boxing?
They're going to force it. They're going to force Shields to be that name.
Exactly.
And it looks like Katie Taylor on this side of the pond.
But I like what Junior said about the Rousey comment. I don't think boxing will have a Rousey in the same way. I feel like UFC as a sport, it's a lot easier to consume. Hence why Rousey was such a big name as well. But I feel like as a top female boxer, you could have a top female boxer who isn't a slugger. They could be a technical boxer who wins by points. And they will never get the appreciation that Rousey would have got, or someone like that, if they're winning by points every match or in a May of the Star. So
I think the thing with Rousey is, and people forget this about Ronda Rousey, her appeal is this: American males aged between 17 and 27 would date her, would sleep with her, would take her home to mom, and they love the fact that she could snap your arm with an armbar, and that's the thing. You need to marry that kind of, and it's probably a sad indictment on our society, but you need to marry that kind of magazine cover look with the ability to actually fight. Because Holly Holm beat the life out of her. No one even talks about her anymore. Because Holly Holm doesn't look the part.
Well, that could be to do with her recent fights as well. She's lost the last two devastatingly as well, Holly Holm.
Yeah. I'm not even sure. I mean, I think the issue with marketing is that we get detached from reality. I don't think in terms of I don't think Ronda Rousey looks the part in inverted commas. Not that she is meant to be some video vixen. She's a fighter, so it's not about her looks. But in terms of the way she's marketed, I don't think she looks the part any more than Holly Holm does. It's just marketing, all right? It's just marketing, and it's how to build that marquee name, how to build the profile of a fighter, and which is probably 40% based on her actual fighting ability and record, to get the ticket sales and make that revenue. And obviously that's something that maybe not to the same extent in terms of mark from a purely entertainment perspective, but maybe that's something that the guy's looking to do in boxing. Like what you say there, hashtag. Boxing is probably a bit more, and the roads boxing probably is a bit more about the technical aspect. So, but they're young. Shields is young. Katie Taylor's young. And there'll be more. There'll be more coming after, right?
Put it this way: if you've got someone like Katie Taylor here, who's behind the Matchroom model, and you've got Shields in the States, there's obviously other boxers as well. But I feel like the platform's there because Eddie's gonna do the best that he can from a business perspective and for her career. We all know.
Okay, so Adrian, my question for you is: who do you want to see Katie Taylor fight next?
I've got no idea.
Therein lies the problem. She has no dance partners.
Right. Yeah.
So it's almost as if what I would have suggested is sign all of those women who are 60 kilos in the Olympics, or sign at least 3 or 4 of them, and then go. At some point, these guys are going to fight each other in the pros. Let's look forward to something, because it's the Belgian lady, isn't it, who's dominant at lightweight? I think it's Delphine something, and you watch her and she's shocking. Katie Taylor beat her tomorrow.
It's a good point. It's a good point you make though, Terry, because when you say who do I want to see her fight, as somebody who has an interest in boxing, I couldn't tell you. But as somebody who doesn't really have an interest in boxing, they won't even know who Katie Taylor is. So I do feel like it's a fair point. They need to build up a group, build up a batch of boxers, rather than just try and pick out 2 or 3.
It's an interesting problem. It's funny, and what I'm drawing a parallel between what you guys have said about Katie Taylor having a dance partner and Andre Ward. Do we want to see Andre Ward fight? Yes, we do. We want to see him do. Who do you want to see him fight? Scratching our heads. And maybe it's a problem with the sport. It has to.
No. I can tell you who I want Ward to fight. I want Ward to fight Degale. I want Ward to fight Stevenson. He won't, but I want him to fight those guys. If Beterbiev proves himself, I want him to fight him as well. Because we know the landscape, we can pick matchups. You could even say, I want Golovkin to come up. They can meet at 172. I think these are all legitimate people who have proved themselves in the ring. Katie Taylor doesn't have that yet. And I think it's 60% our ignorance because we don't really follow women's boxing because it's not broadcast that much. But the rest of it is down to the fact that the talent pool's not that deep because they're either part-time personal trainers who box on the side or, they kind of jump in and out of the sport and have 6 months of intense training and then go off and become accountants again for another 6 months.
Look, very interesting. Box Media Talks, Box Media TV. We will be following. We will be interested. We will be looking with a keen eye to see how this evolves. But Terry, I heard you mention Degale. So moving on, it's been announced. James Degale, Badou Jack, unification. Junior, thoughts?
I'm excited. I'm excited for James Degale. He's been waiting for this fight for a long time, and I think it will be. I'm gonna make an early prediction. I'm gonna go James Degale on points, and I think he'll probably win by a couple rounds, 2 or 3 rounds maybe. I think both of them have had their recent performances have both been uninspiring, but I think they'll rise to the occasion in this particular fight because it's a big fight. It's a unification fight. I think Jack is underrated, but he doesn't do anything spectacular. He started to box more like Mayweather in the Mayweather style. I've noticed that, especially against Groves. He tried the Mayweather style more. I just think Degale has too much for him, too much pressure, too much power. I hope he boxes a bit more intelligently than he has in his previous bouts. I hope he cuts.
No, he won't. He won't.
Is that down to Degale or is that Jim McDonald's fault? That could be something that we discuss because that's
leave Jim alone.
Well, that's your trainer. If you got to tell your fighter to cut the ring off, or your fighter has to respect you enough to listen to what you say and not just do his own thing. That's the key weakness that Degale's got is his ring IQ. I think if he could.
Adrian, the hashtag thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going to go as the favourite in my opinion. I follow him on a few social media platforms, and let's just say he's been enjoying his time off. I'm not sure what effect that will have on his performance. It's not a massive camp, but He's really been enjoying his time off. So hopefully it's okay. It's just about that consistency throughout the 12 rounds. I think he could probably do the fight in fifth gear. He probably wouldn't even have to come out of the fifth gear. It's very frustrating. He's a very frustrating fighter to watch because he does good things in flurries. Good hand speed, but then he'll move around with his hands down, get caught. It's almost like sometimes he appears to be fatigued when he's not, or he shouldn't be. He's a bit of an anomaly in some respects. Quite confusing. I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, I don't think it's fatigue. I think it's mental fatigue. You can't, that intensity or even that focus when out of range. I think he just dips for like in the middle of fights.
Yeah, and it's kind of random. It doesn't really come off the back of punishment, maybe, because remind me of the last guy he fought.
Medina.
Porky Medina, exactly. It's like he wasn't fatigued. It was in the middle of the rounds, and then he'd get caught. And he needs to be careful because he can get caught and he can get dropped.
I look at this one, and I know a few guys in the Jim McDonald camp, and I'm going to give it to Degale for no other reason than he gets to spar guys like Jake Paul, who I think is probably one of the next stars in the light heavyweight division. So Jake's a good guy. Jake's got that thing that Badou Jack has where he's consistent round after round with a high punch output. And if he can do the sparring over 8 to 10 rounds with Degale on that and keep him sharp, I think Degale wins. Jack is great if you're not on your game. I think if Degale's 100% for the whole fight, he wins. If Degale's 99%, Jack will probably win because Jack's he's like a machine. You know exactly what you're going to get with him. There are no frills from round 1 till the end. You know exactly what you're going to get with him. So I'm excited by the fight. I would put my money on Degale because I think he just has that difference maker. His shot making's good. He'll take a few risks where he doesn't have to, but he'll take a few risks, and that's how he got that knockdown with Durrell. So, got to back the Brit, and James should do his thing.
Yeah, as this is fighting head speaking, as I'm sharing opinions today, I'll give you one more. I think Degale wins because he's better. Right, as you said, better shots, better, especially in terms of combinations. I think a bit more venom in the middle, and the last shots of his combinations. I think he'll do what he usually does. Come rounds 3, 4, 5, Jack will be looking very confused as he takes shots to different parts of his head. Will he go to sleep in the middle of the fight? Yes, he will. All right. Not maybe. Yes, he will. Jack will rally for a couple of rounds. Degale might put him away in round 9. I can see Degale winning by stoppage. Not knockout, but referee pulls it off because too many unanswered punches. As as Jack kind of leans when the ropes to get lost. But who am I? I'm just fighting Edward. What I know.
Do any of you guys worry about the judges in this fight?
What are you trying
Where
to
is
suggest?
it? In New York, the fight.
Yeah,
New York.
I'm just suggesting. Yeah, I'm suggesting it. Do you guys worry about the judges in this fight? Because I see it going the distance, and I'm worried about the judges, to be honest with you.
Well, New York judges tend to like a bit more of the flashier stuff than the Vegas judges. So the Vegas judges will lean towards that kind of Latin style. So I think it's better for Degale to do it in New York than Vegas, that's for sure. When he was on the East Coast last time, the judges were, I thought, slightly harsh on him in terms of the scores they gave him against Durrell, but they gave him the result. Even if they did, even if you felt they were going to try and rob him, they had to give him the result. So I think the East Coast is good for James Degale.
Yeah, I tend to agree. If he does decide to fight smart, as you suggested, Junior, and fight off the back foot for maybe a good third of the fight, then I don't think he'll be penalised for it.
So would you say, if Degale wins, where does that leave, I guess, the Mayweather stable in terms of the fighters? Unstable.
That's where it leaves it. Right, that goes on nicely to Gervonta Davis. I think that's too soon for him. Actually, this fight. There was talk of him being unsettled before because Mayweather didn't get the championship fight earlier, but I don't see it being a good night for the money team, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it'll be a tough one. And this anyway, we're gonna be following this anyway as more information emerges, as we have a better idea of the form of the guys in camp, and we do more detailed analysis. We'll be bringing you more insight, more analysis on this, because it will be a bumper, a packed card that we're definitely looking forward to in the new year. The guys, look, we've talked about some topics that we're going to follow, topics that are going to evolve, right? So this isn't the last you've heard about Ward. Last you've heard about the upcoming show with Degale, and the upcoming evolution of women's professional boxing. We're definitely going to talk about this some more in the coming weeks. But Box Media Talks, we can't leave without giving you a recap on the news and current affairs, recent events. The hashtag, Adrian, take it away.
Yeah, so guys, make sure you check out boxmediatv.com. Latest boxing news, entertainment, education. It's just been it's been a ward overdose this week on boxmediatv.com. So we've got quite a lot of reaction on there. We've got Paulie Malignaggi's reaction. An obvious point, I'm sure we touched on it earlier, about Kovalev claiming that he was robbed. Just a quick few words on that one.
Wasn't robbed. Like, being robbed would have been if he had lost 116, 111 on all cards.
Rhodes?
I agree. I don't think he was robbed, but if I was him, I'd feel robbed too. But on the outside looking in, I thought it was fair. It could have gone either way.
Boxing Ed?
From my point of view, I think he was robbed. I think if this had been an amateur fight in the Olympics, and Ward won by 1 point, we'd say fair enough, because his gloves touched Kovalev, maybe just once more over the course of the fight. But this is pro boxing. Punches are meant to hurt. It's not tickling competition, as Ricky Hatton would say. So I think Kovalev is fully justified in feeling that he was robbed.
I don't think he was robbed. I don't think he was robbed at all. Thanks for that, though, Boxing Ed. The next thing is Frank Warren talking about the BT Sport deal, which could revolutionise boxing, as they say. There's been a recent interview as well of Eddie Hearn where he's given his view on it, which is obviously interesting. But yeah, what do you guys think about how that could affect the landscape?
Oh, I'm hoping it breaks up the monopoly of that Sky have had over British boxing for a while. I think we could see it could do one of two things. We could see major fights. We could have like a Mayweather Pacquiao situation where major fights are upheld by the networks. If Hay joins BT Sports, for example, and Box Nation, would that hold up the Joshua Hay fight? But it's exciting to see another platform for fighters to go and display their talents and get money, and for fast fans as well. The BT Sport platform is free if you have the internet or whatever as well. So more fights for the fans. Excellent.
Terry?
So one of the things I found interesting was the guy who brokered the deal for BT Sport used to work for Box Nation, so he helped set up Box Nation when it started, which gives you a sense that something like this has been on the cards for a while. What it gives Frank Warren is a lot of dates and probably not enough fighters to fill them. So I actually think the people who will benefit from this are the small hall guys, like your Tommy Doubts and your Mickey Elliots. I think they will benefit because they will get their guys onto Frank Warren's shows on BT Sport. Now, I know Frank Warren's been sniffing around Sia Ozgul, the Turkish welterweight who's been giving people all kinds of hell in sparring recently. He's sniffing around guys like Huey Fury. I'd expect, if guys like Dom Akinladi do their thing, that they might be on that radar as well. So it gives, you need to fill these shows with people, so it gives everyone a chance if they can step up. So I think that's good. I genuinely don't think Barry Francis at Sky is pig-headed enough to say, I won't do business with BT Sport. Where it goes in terms of pay-per-view, I don't know. But one thing we can say for sure now is we're seeing the end of Box Nation as a subscription-only service, because it doesn't make sense anymore.
So we see the end of Box Nation, but do we see the end of numerous cancelled fights with Frank Warren's cards, which is definitely very frustrating to the fans? What can they do about that?
I think they should stop doing business with the Eubanks. This was stuff, wasn't it? Just to me to give my take, I think Eddie Hearn claims that he believes it's a good thing, great for boxing. Of course, he doesn't think that. From a business sense, that he would not think that, and he shouldn't do. I think it is good for boxing. I think it gives fighters another option. So contractually, for their own well-being, there's more than one route, one path, one kind of commercial deal or commercial partnership or model they can strike that will enable them to have the exposure and actually take boxing seriously as a career. So, diversification, competition in any business is always a positive thing because it makes things commercially more viable for the people that are buying, so to speak. In terms of fights, I think you're right there, Terry. There'll be lots of dates, and it could actually be advantageous for your small hall, your up-and-coming promoters, managers, and shows. So that's also a great thing. And in terms of Sky Sports doing business with BT, I don't see. I mean, they're networks, right? So unless them doing business, it essentially means either having some agreement on schedule of dates, or them agreeing to have major sort of kind of marquee fights and to both show the fights at the same time. So I'm not sure about them doing business together, how that will work, but competition is good.
Mm-hmm. I think the most interesting point you and Terry have touched on is about sort of the fighters on the small hall shows. I think as a sort of up and coming boxer, maybe 10-0 for example, it's kind of like you get the impression that a lot of these fighters are scrambling to be noticed, to be picked by Eddie Hearn. And when they aren't, they have to go kind of through various different routes to get to the top. So I think it's good. It will raise the profile and slide on a few kind of names that we may not be aware of, and help them grow.
So an example of this is there's a kid called Nathan Gorman. He's a heavyweight, and he's trained by Ricky Hatton. And he's kind of been off the radar because he's been boxing small hall. He won the Central Area title a few weeks ago. So he will be on the Billy Joe Saunders versus Nobody card on Saturday. And he's a good guy to watch because if he gets his physical conditioning sorted, this guy's a legitimate threat. He used to be on the GB squad when he was younger. So there's a guy who's come up the small hall shows, and now he's got his chance on Box Nation, and I'm hoping that the tap will only open even more.
But I feel like Frank's had to do that because even with some of the Tommy Dove cards, you've seen sort of Nathaniel Wilson, who's featured on there a few times, and he's on the Box Nation shows now. There's a few guys in a similar position.
Frank knows boxing. Frank, he's been. I think you're right, Terry. He's been on the cards for a while. Remember a few months ago he was joking. He jokingly, and it wasn't. I realised now it was a joke. Suggested that it's not only Matchroom you can do business with Sky. There's lots of dates available at Sky for him as well. And I think Eddie Hearn kind of scoffed at this and ridiculed it. But I think Frank knew what he was saying and deliberately did it to kind of bait Eddie Hearn at the time.
Yeah, I mean,
politics, games, mind games. That's boxing, all levels.
Yeah, back to marketing. You've got sort of the Conor Benns who. Where do you rate his in terms of marketing? He's up there, but Frank's probably got guys who are maybe as good as him in his stable. So it's just, it's all about promotion and what people know, the names, etc. But yeah, it's exciting times, definitely. And just to touch on some of the stuff that's taken place, we've obviously got footage of Danny Garcia, Sammy Vargas, the needle, the handbags between Furman and Garcia. So that's exciting.
That's a good thing to pick up. Furman and Garcia.
Yeah.
Predictions.
It's looking. Yeah. Well, I mean, do you guys want to give predictions now, or should we leave that to?
No. Let's not be greedy, guys. That is a segment in its own show. Right? Let's don't panic. Right? Yeah. We'll get into that next week.
But Box Media TV. Get the reaction from sort of Ward Kovalev. A lot of features on there as well. And obviously this week we've got the Matchroom card, so there'll be bits and bobs on there.
Right, gentlemen, look.
And the two Frank Warren cards, let's not forget those.
The two Frank Warren cards as well, Ed.
Gentlemen, right, thank you for your time today. Interesting thoughts, opinions, divided mainly by me today, in support of Kovalev versus Ward, but very interesting. Boxing on the way up as always, new dimensions, new facets, a new leader setting a torch in terms of sports equality, perhaps in terms of combat sport, or at least rivaling or following UFC, MMA in that aspect. But interesting talk, interesting conversation, Box Media Talks, brought to you by Box Media TV. Check out boxmediatv.com. And until next time, keep your guard up.